Hey there, it's the beginning of week 2 of the Book Proposal Accelerator. Today is Monday, June 2nd, 2025, and I left off last week saying that I would try to work a little bit over the weekend to get ahead on Module 2 in the course. Nope, did not happen. I did not work a single lick this whole weekend, but I have a good amount of time set aside today for work on the accelerator, so that's great. Something else happened since my last video, which is that I told you that I posted my draft letter of inquiry to the Book Proposal Accelerator program to get feedback from Laura Portwood-Stacer, who's the person who runs the program, and she was very kind and said that the letter was great and she thought it had a great chance of getting a positive response. So that was very encouraging. As I said, I'm not going to submit this letter right away. That'll happen at the end of the program, but great, encouraging feedback to be going forward with. So I'm going to start my work for today in the accelerator, and I will check in at the end of my work period today. Okay, it is now later in the day on Monday, June 2nd, and I watched the lesson 3 video and took the steps that it outlined. So lesson 3 is about finding books that are comparable in some way to my book and writing a little bit about each of them. Laura recommended 4 to 6. So I've done kind of a first pass on that. I chose 4 books and wrote a little bit about them. I may be able to expand this later. Honestly, I've read 3 of the books that I picked, but I haven't read the 4th one. So I actually just ordered it because before I kind of turn this in as like one of the comps, if I do end up including that one that I haven't read yet, I would like to at least page through it, if not read it in detail. So actually, I would love your help right now because the 4 books that I chose as comps are Grad School Life, Surviving and Thriving Beyond Coursework and Research by Jacqueline M. Kory-Westlund. Jackie's been on the podcast. Is Grad School for Me? Demystifying the Application Process for First-Gen BIPOC Students by Yvette, Martínez-Vu, and Miroslava Chavez-Garcia. Also interviewed them on the podcast. Leaving Academia, A Practical Guide by Christopher L. Caterine. Chris has been on the podcast. And Managing Your Mental Health During Your PhD, A Survival Guide by Zoe J. Ayres. That's the one I haven't read yet, so I just bought it. Anyway, like I said, I have room for 4 to 6 comps. So if you know of another title that you think would fit really well as a comp for my book, I would love to hear it. I've identified more books as like having some similarities to mine. But yeah, if you think there's one that should definitely, be in this list, please leave a comment on this video and let me know what that title is. I may have found it already, or I may not have. I'm actually not super well read in this area, so you may have a lot of insight that I don't. So I would love to hear from you. What I'm looking for in a comp is like a book that has some kind of similarity to mine. I'm not expecting to find comps that are books on finances written for funded graduate students. I don't think that exists. I mean, let me know if you know of that. It's been published by a scholarly press. But so I'm not necessarily expecting the topic to be the same, but the audiences could overlap. So I'm looking for books that are targeted for current graduate students or prospective graduate students. They may have some financial, like, oblique references to finances, like in Leaving Academia. They may have a lot of overt financial content, like in Is Grad School for Me, like in Grad School Life. There's plenty of financial content in both of those books, even though that's not the main subject area. So audience, some references to content maybe. I've also noticed that in 2 of the books that I mentioned, interviews are drawn on for the book content, like there will be interviews quoted in my book as well. So anything that has like similarities like that, I would love to hear about it, especially audience overlap and books that are about the personal side of navigating grad school, not just the professional side. So love to hear if you have any suggestions. This is the end of my work period on this book for today, Monday. I'll be back tomorrow. I think maybe moving on to the next lesson. Even though I don't feel completely done with this one, I think I will move on to the next step and circle back to this once I've read the mental health in grad school book and maybe heard from you all for some other ideas. Okay, see you later. Today is Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025, and I did a little more work in the accelerator today. The lesson I watched and the exercise that I did involved defining the audience for my book. And this was really interesting following on selecting the comparable titles, because to me, finding comparable titles was about finding books with a similar audience. So yeah, it was just a little difficult for me to think about these two things as like separate exercises instead of the same, because I'm thinking about my book, on money for graduate students, as it doesn't, from what I am aware, have any comparable titles in terms of the subject matter, but it does have in terms of the audience of prospective and current graduate students. And maybe in particular, those graduate students who are motivated enough to read books about how to, succeed in graduate school and maintain your personal life and so forth. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking about today with these two exercises about comps and audience. And I'm not feeling totally finished with the writing asked of me for this. So I think I'm going to take another pass at it tomorrow and then post it for feedback. But everything's been really great in the accelerator so far in terms of like getting me thinking about different aspects of this book project. All right, it's Wednesday, June 4th. I actually devoted like a lot of time to the accelerator today, about 2.5 hours. So I feel really good about what I accomplished. So mainly what I did was kind of rewrite or expand on the comps list that I was mentioning on Monday. So I ended up sort of drafting that. I certainly may change it later, but I ended up drafting it. I included the 4 books that I mentioned on Monday, plus one other, which was Life and Research, a Survival Guide for Early Career Biomedical Scientists, which I also ordered because, again, I kind of want to page through it before submitting it as a comp. But yeah, I haven't read it yet, but I think it does fit in with the general theme here. So I wrote that section and I posted it for feedback within the accelerator, and I'm very curious to see if there's anything I need to change about it, because I definitely don't feel certain about it based on, comparing it to other examples within the accelerator. Anyway, that's done. Tomorrow, I'm going to get back to working on that audience articulation that I was working on yesterday. And then I hope to move on by Friday to the next lesson. Yes. Okay. One other thing that I did that I'm excited about is that I found a book, not to be included in my comps list. It's not that close, but in my, searches for similar books, I came across a book that's forthcoming from one of the presses that I'm highly interested in submitting to. And the author is someone that I know professionally, that I've actually been hired by this person for a speaking engagement before, and we've met in person a few other times. So I contacted this person. I offered to feature the person on my podcast for an interview once the book comes out. And I also asked for feedback on how it's been working with that press. So I really hope this person gets back to me, and I'm excited to learn more about how it is working that particular press, because that could, maybe it'll shoot to number 1 on my list, or maybe it'll drop off my list. We will see. All right, that's the end of this extra long work period for today, and I will be back tomorrow, I expect. Today is Thursday, June 5th, 2025. I put in another good work session for the Book Proposal Accelerator. I got really actionable feedback from Laura on the post that I made yesterday regarding my list of comparable books and my description of them, and I rewrote that according to her suggestion. And then I also had an ongoing conversation with Laura within the accelerator about how I should describe my audience, and she got back to me and said I really didn't have to say much about it, so I posted that today, just 2 sentences on how I would describe my audience, and hopefully she'll get back to me in the next day or two with whether that really brief description actually is sufficient or whether I need to expand it. But I think I'm ready to move on to Module 3, Lesson 5, before the end of this work week, which is awesome. That will put me ahead of schedule, which is what I want to be. Today's Friday, June 6th, 2025, and it just wrapped up pretty long work session in the Book Proposal Accelerator. So I watched lesson 5, which is on writing the central thesis for your book and a few one-liners to describe the book. And I did that exercise. And then I also watched lesson 6, which is about writing the project description. I'm really glad I did that because I know the project description is going to take some time to put together, and I'm kind of setting myself up to do that next week. I'm actually going to a conference next week, so I'll have some time to work like on the planes, but not a lot of time when the conference is actually going on. So I'm glad to have something big, meaty to work on kind of while I'm offline in those scenarios. Let's see. I haven't heard back yet my last piece of writing that I posted for feedback. So I'm waiting to post what I wrote today until the feedback on the last one comes back. But hopefully I'll do that either later today or on Monday perhaps. And I did hear back from the person I emailed a couple days ago, and they offered to introduce me to their acquisitions editor. So I don't want to do that quite yet. I want to do it when I have the proposal ready. But yeah, that's another great lead. I didn't necessarily have an in with that editor yet, so I'm really excited about that. Really happy with how this program is going so far, happy with how I've devoted time to it, but I know next week is going to be a bit of a speed bump. So I want to do as much as I can before I leave for the conference and while I'm doing the conference travel. So later on Friday, I actually got feedback from Laura on the piece of writing about my audience for the book that I posted yesterday. And so I incorporated that feedback, updated that section, and I posted my argument for, the book's arguments for feedback today. So I'm hoping to get that over the weekend, and plan still applies. Get to work on Monday and set myself up for whatever work I am able to do on this throughout the rest of the week when I'm at the conference.